I'm Ella, and I'm about to go out and take some photos.
Hey Ella, it's Sam. This is my story of how I started Echo. So growing up, I always loved to write, and I was really close with my granny. So I'd actually had this idea for a long time, ever since I was pretty young, to sit down with her and ask her about her life, her where she grew up, and write her story down for our family. But I never got around to it. And then one day, I was in journalism school at UVic, and my granny fell and broke her hip. But otherwise, she was in good health. I came back to Vancouver to be with her as we took her in for the hip operation. And when she came out the other side, she had a new hip, but no memory. It was literally like the anesthetic had sort of hit the delete button on her entire history. She lived for another 10 years or so, but she really was in a state of pretty severe dementia. And I was devastated. I felt really angry with myself for procrastinating and not getting around to capturing her life story when I had the chance. But in the end, I decided to take out my tape recorder, because that's what we had back then, and record the family members I had left, my mom, my uncles. I had one great aunt still alive then. And I really did know right away that that's what I wanted to do with my writing career. But I was only about 24. I didn't know anything about running a business, but I was living with your mom, my best friend at the time, in Southlands, in Soph's family's home. And she let me set up a home office in the upstairs wing of the house. I took out an ad in the Vancouver Sun for free. They let you do that back then on Mondays, announcing my business. And I found 3 people who allowed me to make books about their lives and businesses for free in exchange for being my guinea pigs, letting me make my mistakes and learn my lessons with them before actually starting to charge for my work. And it's now been 26 years. Echo's grown so much, but we still do what I set out to do back then, which is to preserve people's stories in beautiful books, alongside photographs to make them really engaging illustrated histories. And we still keep a big framed photo of my granny in our Echo head office, which reminds me that even though I missed the chance to get her life story on record, she was the inspiration for me starting my business. And in that way, it means that she's helped over 500 of our clients capture their stories for their own families, which is really sweet.
Bye, Monty. Okay, let's go. This is my neighborhood, Strathcona. And my capstone project is going to be about taking photos of places in this beloved neighborhood and talking about the history of them, as well as my own experience with these places. So I hope you enjoy. I've been coming to Union Market ever since we moved here when I was 4. They have recently gotten new owners, but before it used to be run by a Portuguese mother and son, Gloria and David Bernardino. But this is it now, and they've still preserved a lot of the original Portuguese things that came with it, like the pastel donatas.
The Union Market building dates back to 1910. However,
It was not turned into a grocery store until 1962, when Armindo Gomes founded Gomes Grocery, a business he ran for 32 years, and started the tradition of Portuguese ownership on the site. In 1993, the Bernardino family took over. They were also of Portuguese descent, and the mother and son, Gloria and David, soon took control of the business. They closed in 2023, after nearly 3 decades of running their business. However, there is now a new owner, a man Ludo, who started his transition to the bakery industry by baking sourdough for his neighbors during COVID-19. Though Union Market has changed from a grocery store / coffee shop / bakery to more of a coffee shop oriented place, Ludo has retained one store tradition, pastel de natas, otherwise known as Portuguese custard tarts, Union Market's most popular item when the Bernardinos ran the store. Benny's Market was opened in 1917 by Alfonso Benedetti. He set up Benny's Market and married Violet Tetti, who lived across the street. They lived at the back of the grocery store and expanded the business to sell dry goods. Alfonso had a son named Roman. Roman started working in the business in 1956. He helped propel it into a new era by importing Spanish, Portuguese, and Italian products. Once Roman married, him and his wife Irma also started supplying many Italian stores from Vancouver to Prince Rupert with their goods. Running business with these stores helped Benny's survive, while many similar shops went out of business. In the 1960s, the threat of the freeway in Strathcona that was planned to run right through the store and neighborhood meant that the business began to suffer. After Alfonso died in 1970, Ramon's daughter Janice began working full-time in the store. Ramon took care of the deliveries, buying, selling, and invented the famous Benny's Burger, mortadella and cheese on a bun. Even after Ramon's death in 2019, the family continues to carry on the legacy of Benny's, and to this day, it is still run by his son and daughter-in-law. This is a picture of Benny's Market. I really wanted to capture the essence of Benny's, so as you can see, it's a pretty old-fashioned store. It's a store that has many things from pastries to groceries to household items even, and I think this photo really captures that. You can see some of the items in the store through the windows. For this picture, I made sure that the camera was very focused so the picture wasn't blurry at all. I wanted all the details to be visible, and I feel that this photo nicely fills the frame. This is a close-up of the window at Benny's. There's a lot of elements poking into the picture, such as a Canadian flag and the bouquets of flowers, which I think makes the photo a lot more interesting. Finch's Tea House opened in 2004 at 365 West Pender Street in downtown Vancouver. The business was built by Cheryl Matthew and her husband Jamie Smith, as well as the cafe itself, with the owners doing 90% of the physical renovations. After a couple of years, the sandwich shop became a local staple, and they usually had lines out the door for hours during busy lunches. Due to their success in downtown Vancouver, they decided to open a second location in a smaller neighborhood, Strathcona. The second location was called Finch's Markets, and it opened in 2012 at 501 East Georgia Street. Before 2012, the property was a tiny grocery called a You Go To store until the owner left and moved back to China. Unfortunately, in 2024, the Finch's Tea and Coffee House in downtown Vancouver was forced to shut down due to debt from vandalism, inflation, and pandemic-related loans. However, Finch's Market in the heart of Strathcona lives on, and the cafe continues to sell their iconic sandwiches, soups, coffees, and teas. This is Finch's Market at 501 East Georgia Street. What I really like about this photo is since it's taken in a window, you can see my reflection holding the camera, as well as the trees and lamppost behind me. Finch's is such a comforting place for me because I used to go there all the time with my mom and my brother and get a baguette with prosciutto and avocado and split a cookie. It truly is a staple in the neighborhood. This is the inside of Finch's Market. Before the photo was developed, I thought it would be blurry since it's taken through a glass window. However, it turned out wonderfully, and you can really see all of the details in this quaint sandwich shop. Strathcona Community Centre was constructed in 1972 through the collaborative effort of Vancouver Board of Parks and Recreation and local residents.
It is now run by the Strathcona Community Centre Association and the Vancouver Parks Board. It's located just east of Chinatown and is connected to Lord Strathcona Elementary School. They offer licensed childcare, preschool classes, programming for children, youth, adults, and seniors, breakfast and food security programs, and a fitness center with possible fitness trainers. According to their website, the Community Center provides a place where the community can meet, share thoughts, and explore new and different avenues of recreation, socialize, and become involved. Some of my favorite memories from Strathcona Community Center were taking theater classes, playing in the games room, and going to the gym. This is a picture of the sign outside Strathcona Community Center. While taking this picture, I really tried to get close, so the sign was the focal point of the photo. This sign has been here for as long as I can remember, and now I really associate this type of font with Strathcona neighborhood. This is Lord Strathcona's elementary junior building, where the lower grades attend their classes. I can clearly remember sitting on those steps during recess and running back into the building when the bell rang. The Chan's family home is a 2.5-story Edwardian house constructed in 1906, and it became home to the Chan family in 1958. Mary Chan was a community activist who worked 3 different jobs, and her husband, Walter Chan, a Chinatown merchant who worked for local newspapers. A proposed Vancouver freeway was part of a larger plan to modernize Vancouver's road systems and renew city slums. By the time the freeway plan was announced in 1967, the Georgia Viaduct had been constructed on the site of Hogan's Alley, and 15 Strathcona blocks had been destroyed to make way for public housing projects. Had the freeway plan been fully realized, much of historic Strathcona and Chinatown would have been wiped out. Mary Lee Chan and her daughter Shirley, angered at the proposed destruction of their neighborhood, began organizing protests, handing out flyers, and hosting meetings at their 658 Kiefer Street home. They helped establish SPOTA, Strathcona Property Owner and Tenants Association, creating connections with individuals across the community and all levels of government. SPOTA's plan ultimately succeeded in eliminating the freeway plan and saving the neighborhood. Larry Chan says, "It was here that the planning for full community mobilization occurred, as strategies were made for lobbying, door-to-door campaigning, newspaper articles written, and information and ideas shared and discussed." The house is now listed as one of Canada's historic places due to its architectural merit and association with the Chan family. These are the pictures of some of the houses that would have been in SPOTA, Strathcona Property Owner and Tenants Association. Strathcona neighborhood is the oldest neighborhood in Vancouver, with the elementary school being built in 1897, and the houses definitely reflect that. A lot of these houses were built in the late 19th to early 20th century. And Strathcona now has a zoning design to protect houses built in 1920 or earlier. I really like these photos because I feel that without the color, the house's features, such as the stained glass windows and trimming on the roofs, are much more distinguishable. Railroad tracks separate Admiral Seymour Elementary School from the homes of the majority of its students. In 1971, parents became frustrated that their children had no choice but to cross these tracks to get to school. Repeated requests were made to have the train schedule moved so it wouldn't run during the time the children were getting to school and leaving school. However, requests for this and an overpass fell on deaf ears. After months of complaints from mothers of these children, the school board and city officials had produced no solutions, so residents took action. 25 women, so-called the Militant Mothers of Raymer, blocked the train tracks between Raymer and Glen, demanding a safe crossing for Seymour students. Tents were pitched on tracks, posters were hoisted, and the news media showed up. Finally, the city agreed that an overpass would be built across the tracks at the foot of Kiefer Street. Not believing the city, after many broken promises, the mothers patrolled the tracks until construction actually began in March of 1971. In 2019, the mothers were finally recognized, and the city of Vancouver officially changed the name of the bridge from Kiefer Street Pedestrian Overpass to Militant Mothers of Raymer Overpass. This is the overpass the mothers protested to have built. As you can see, the sign recognizing their efforts stands at the bottom of the overpass, and the entire overpass has a wire cage-like thing around it. After taking a photograph of the outside of the bridge, I decided to wander inside and take pictures from a different perspective. Both of these photos use a lot of leading lines to guide your eyes to the center of the picture. Hogan's Alley on the east side of Vancouver was part of larger Black communities in Strathcona's neighborhood. The community's origins date from 1915 to 1917, when 2 railway stations were built nearby. Black porters who worked on these railways would venture into Strathcona during stopovers in Vancouver. Gradually, as the community grew, Black pioneers opened nightclubs and restaurants. And the first Black church opened in 1918, called the Fountain Chapel American Methodist Episcopal. Hogan's Alley became well known for its distinct culture, blues musicians such as Jimi Hendrix, and restaurants which often doubled as speakeasies. The most notable would be Vi's Chicken and Steakhouse. However, in the 1960s, the area was raised to make way for urban modern development. Protesters managed to shut the project down, but not before housing in Hogan's Alley had been destroyed. In 1972, the Georgia Street Viaduct was built over the area. Since the end of Hogan's Alley, no specific Black neighborhoods have existed in Vancouver. However, community groups such as Black History Month committees, Black cultural associations, and Hogan's Alley Memorial Project have succeeded in keeping the memories alive, culminating in the foundation of a city-sponsored plaque at the site in 2013. This is a picture of Vi's Chicken and Steakhouse, the iconic restaurant and speakeasy in Hogan's Alley, featuring a photo of Jimi Hendrix on the front door. These are all pictures of the Georgia Street Viaduct, the viaduct that connects Strathcona and Main Street to downtown Vancouver, and the structure that destroyed Hogan's Alley. Although this picture is a little dark, I really like it because of the symmetry in it. I like the 2 sides of the bridge meeting up in the middle. Now, here are some more pictures I took of the viaduct. And this is what Hogan's Alley looks like now. Although this part of Union Street is a nice block of cafes and workout classes, it's important to remember that for this to have been created, an entire neighborhood and community had to have been destroyed. I learned a lot more about the history of my neighborhood, and I learned that in storytelling, you need to know when to omit the details that are irrelevant to the story. Some skills I picked up were having the courage to photograph in public places, because obviously that can be a little scary or embarrassing. Being able to take information from websites about histories of places and put it in my own words. Another skill I picked up on was being able to deliver information in a concise manner. It's helped me see how rooted I am in my neighborhood and how many connections I have with these historic places in Strathcona. My process started with making an outline for my project, choosing my locations, taking footage and photos at these locations, putting these photos and footage into iMovie, and editing them to my desired length, and then layering my voice over afterwards. A challenge I faced was not being able to develop my own capstone pictures. From the start, I knew I wanted to develop these photos myself in the darkroom in my photo class. Unfortunately, the film I was using was not compatible with the chemicals used for developing in that class, so I had to take my film to London Drugs, which did cost some money. The photos turned out very well, and I feel that they really captured the essence of these historic places. I also really liked the way we filmed the footage. Watching it back, it feels very authentic, and it feels like I'm kind of your tour guide of Strathcona. And most importantly, I feel that my storytelling skills shine during this project. I aimed for my writing to be clear, intriguing, and interesting, and I feel like I accomplished that. I began this project under the impression that I had a thorough understanding of the history of Strathcona. However, this experience revealed how much there was still to uncover and deepened my appreciation for the place I call home. When I started this project, I didn't know much about how to write nonfiction. By the end, I had a much better understanding of it.
like how to write a strong hook and when it's better to leave out certain details to keep the writing clear and focused. In conclusion, this project has not only allowed me to explore the historical places in my neighborhood, but has also helped me grow as both a writer and photographer. Capturing these sites through my lens taught me how to tell stories visually, while writing about them helped me strengthen my voice. As someone who hopes to be a writer when they're older, this project reminded me that every place has a story, and it's just a matter of how you choose to tell it. Photography will always be a creative outlet and hobby for me, and combining it with writing has shown me a powerful way to share meaningful stories with others.